podcast. Make sure you follow, like, subscribe, and share. Today we have an amazing guest speaker with us, Keturah. Is that right?
Yes.
I didn't even
Yes,
ask.
Keturah.
Keturah is in law enforcement and is a mother of 7 children. She is here today to open your eyes about the importance of resilience and setting goals. Getting pregnant for the first time at age 15 and then having 6 more children over the course of the next 25 years, she endured heartache, abuse, frustration, and single motherhood. She has come out on the other end as a thriver, not just a survivor, and is here to give inspiration to all the people out there that are dealing with hard times. Listen in as she explains the changes she has made over the years to become the awesome person she is today. Welcome.
Thank you.
I'm so
Great
happy that you're
introduction.
here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for taking some time out of your day to sit down with us and share your story.
Oh, yes. I'm
I know you
excited.
must be busy.
It was, I worked my 8-hour shift today. So getting home and, got the kids pizza. Don't knock on my door for an hour.
I hear you on that one. So just so that everyone knows, anyone who comments or says anything does have the opportunity to actually be on our screen. So, feel free to comment, say hello, and introduce yourself, ask questions while we're speaking. So you have a lot. You have so much going on and so much inspiration to share. And I'm so excited to get to the point of talking about where you are now and your mindset. But one of the things that I love to do before we jump into all the good stuff is to kind of just talk about your early years, talk about kind of what was going on, childhood, preteen, just to kind of give us a foundation of kind of, what your childhood was like. Do you mind sharing with us?
Sure. So I had both of my parents together until I was the age of 16. So that was normal. I was lucky, very lucky, that my mom stayed home and my father worked. And, so that was just my norm of, I went to school and my mom was there like all the time. From a very young age, I wanted to be in law enforcement. So that was kind of like a desire of mine. From like the age of 13. But for the most part, growing up, I had my parents. Twice a year, we went to the county fair. We went to Disneyland. I've grown up here in Southern California. I'm still in Southern California. And it was, I guess, normal, I mean, my mom did really a great job in, not having like parental issues that they had amongst themselves or their relationship issues in front of us. And at the age of 16, though, my dad, he left. And, but that's kind of when I changed as well, because my first pregnancy was at 15. And nothing really like bad happened to me or how those were just in my plans. I do believe strongly that, I had a conversation before I was here on earth and, it was mapped out what I was to do. And so it wasn't like I was rebelling against anything or, it just, I got pregnant and I was going to have my baby and that's what I did. So at 16 is, when a lot of things changed, but up until then it was normal. I had a good childhood. Both my parents are still alive and in my life. So it was good. It was, it was good.
Was this the 15? Was this a boyfriend or who was this?
Yeah, it was a boyfriend. I remember the day I met him at Target. He worked at Target and I was walking around with my mom and that's how we met. And, he was one of my first boyfriends. So of course it didn't last, but I had a baby and I can only imagine doing that to, one of my kids doing that to me at 15, what I did to my mother. But I'm glad the decisions that she made and the boundaries that she put up about how involved she could be, because it just made me have to do the things that I did in terms of, working and going to school and things like that. And, graduating high school. It was kind of like, okay, if this is what you're going to do, you need to figure it out. So
Wow.
there wasn't a lot of coddling, there wasn't a
No
lot.
kidding.
Yeah.
How did you take that? How did you do that?
I don't know. I guess I'm always pretty independent. I mean, at 13, I was like an explorer, which is like, I don't know. My friend's dad used to call me junior cop. I was an explorer. And, so we would go to the police station and, every week, and we would PT, and I had a uniform, and, so maybe there was a little discipline there already kind of getting instilled in me. But, I am pretty headstrong. And so, that's what it was. She wasn't going to help me. So I found a school for pregnant girls, because that was a while ago. My oldest is 26. So that was a long time ago, but I found a school for pregnant girls. I did end up going to continuation, but I worked and I graduated like a year ahead of time because I was able to do work at my own pace. So it just was what it was, and then by 18, when I decided to have another child, she said, you can't live here anymore. She still had a lot going on. So at the time it made me angry, but I look back now and, again, it was that extra push that kind of just put me in a place to, got to get it together. So
100%.
That's what I did. Yeah.
100%. No kidding. What kind of struggles? I mean, I'm assuming, by the time you're 18, 19 years old, you already have 2 children. What sort of struggles did you kind of go through as you were entering adulthood? Because if law enforcement is part of it, I'm assuming you had to continue going to school.
I did. Once I graduated, I didn't go back to school right away. I actually didn't go back to school till about 20. So I had those, 2.5, 3 years where I just worked. But I did utilize a lot of the systems out there, in terms of assistance that is provided when you're a single mother, young with children, and you don't have means or income. So I did have welfare for a while. That was very helpful when I had my 2 kids. Childcare, I mean, I did have childcare because I was low income, so that assisted with me working. But pretty much just like in the home, I was by myself, and at that time, even in an abusive relationship. So just being in the home and trying to, the way I think about it now is parenting while I'm trying to learn how to parent and grow up myself. And so, I'm definitely a different type of parent from my 26-year-old to now my 1 and 2-year-old that I have at home as well. So being at home alone, I guess, was like probably the biggest struggle, because I was a home without like parents, and I had a nasty partner. So that's kind of probably where it got hard at 18.
Yeah. How did you sever that relationship eventually? How did that work out?
Well, he went to jail a couple of times. As much as I dealt with it and would go back to the relationship, because it's not, anybody who's been in the cycle of abuse, it doesn't just like start off with like this crazy, crazy episode or whatnot. I always say like the first thing that he ever did to me was push me. I remember in front of my mom's house, he pushed me, and, I was really taken back by that because I had never experienced abuse. And then one of the very last things that he did to me was he put a knife to me, to my throat in front of my 2 girls. My second one was too young, but my 3-year-old for a long time would say, Daddy had scissors, so she remembered.
Oh, wow.
So that's how I kind of compare it, like the least of, the first thing to the very last thing. And then I got everything in between. He was jealous, he was possessive. He was physically abusive. And I would say by 20, after him going to jail a couple of times and him realizing that, I would be honest in that factor of him being abusive, even though I accepted it for a long time, it just kind of ended, between he and I. Of course, his family, now we're fine, but back then it was, stay away from her, and I knew I needed to stay away from him. It was just toxic, and unfortunately we don't talk. And when I talk to my girls, it's like he doesn't thank me for raising my girls, because he didn't.
Yeah.
He sure didn't. And they tell me things now, and it's just like, wow. But I believe you choose your parents, and so I always tell them, like, I don't know why, I don't know what lesson you need, but you chose us to be your parents. And so
that's interesting. I don't necessarily agree with that, but I totally understand that, because if I didn't have the parents I had, I would not be the person that I am. I'm so grateful I had the parents I had.
Yeah.
Or have.
Yes.
I've never really thought of it that way. I actually really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Where'd you learn that from?
From my mom. She would say it. I don't remember necessarily as a child, but as an adult, she would always say that you chose us. And
Wow.
My dad, maybe that's why I've had some of the relationships I've had. My father, he's always been a present father. Emotionally, there's been some disconnects, but he's always been present. He's a great grandfather. He's very helpful and involved in my children's life, and my other siblings that have children. So, but I chose them. I do feel that way, and so I don't know. It might explain some of my choices in men, but I don't blame him. That's for sure. I don't blame him.
I got it. I totally understand 100%. So how old were you when you got into law enforcement? Like when you were actually in law enforcement, how old were you?
I was 28. So at 20, going back a little bit, by 21, I had 3 kids, and I was getting my AA. And I completed my AA, and then I went on to get my bachelor's. And so I was about 27 when I graduated with my bachelor's. I was pregnant with my 4th child when I graduated. And then the next year, I joined the department at 28.
Wow.
So I've been in for 13 years now. I've been with the Los Angeles County Probation Department.
How do you love that?
I do like it. When I always, wanted to be in law enforcement. As I went through school, I realized that I would rather work with juveniles opposed to adults. I felt like I would have more to offer. I didn't experience a lot of the things that the children I work with go through in terms of gangs and drugs and, foster care system, things like that. I didn't know those things. But I just felt like I'd rather help a child than a grown man who's still involved in a lot of mess. So that's kind of how I chose the probation department. The department itself has changed a lot over the years. So for a long time, though, for 10 years, I did work one-on-one with, the youth. I still do, but I kind of was able to take a promotion and remove myself from the daily stressors of being in an institution, and now I work for transportation for the department. So it's a better gig within the department, and it's not as stressful. But I do still work one-on-one with them, and you do build connections. I've had children, reach out to me. I've seen some on the streets. I've had kids. Every now and then they've had kids, write about staff that impacted them. And so I've had, pretty good feedback, when I've come across youth in that way. And so that feels good because, I'm not changing their life, but at the moment when they were at a low, I know I helped. And so that is a good feeling. And there's a lot of kids out there that need a lot of support in many different ways. So
I bet. And I bet is that predominantly male? Boys?
it is. There is a male population, but it is predominant, like out, I wouldn't even say a fifth are young ladies compared to,
Wow.
the amount of males. So yeah,
Has
so that's been
has
my
that
population pretty much.
has that that field of work, has it impacted the way that you parent your children?
My kids would probably say yes.
Ah,
Um, I would say in general, I'm a pretty strict parent. In terms of, I get the last word. I know we can all do better, and I know that, like, my older three children will tell me I spoil my younger ones now, and oh, I used to be so hard on them compared to how I am to my younger. I have four in the house now.
yeah.
And but you learn. And so some of the ways that I parented them, I don't do my younger ones now. But that being said, I still do feel like I am a strict parent. It's like it's my rules, that's it. We can have conversations, but I still get the rule. You eat whatever I provide. I don't take orders. I mean, little things like that. But I'm very grateful because some of the children or the youth that I have worked with, to get to come home and see that I have good children. I have really good children from all across the board, to my ones that are adults now. They're productive, and so of course there was hiccups. They did some things that were dumb. Nothing that would get them in a place where I work now, but I think maybe they knew, oh, like, because of what I did, I don't, with a combination of I work here and then also just how I parent. Um, so I mean, maybe, I never did anything drastic. And I mean, I have handcuffs and things like that. I never used that on the kids. So I don't know, but I think it's just being in that environment. It does. I don't want to say like harden you, but I mean, because there's a lot of stuff that you see that most of the general population and public don't. And you do have to learn to balance, in your custody. I still have a job to take care of them, provide safety for them and security, knowing that they've done some really bad stuff. And so, that balance, and try not to bring it at home. It did take a while to kind of leave the job at the door before I came home, because it is a change when you first join. Yeah.
I can
Yeah.
totally see that 100%.
Yeah.
When you first got into law enforcement, you said you were around 28, 29, right?
Yes.
And then you had 4 kids at this time?
I did. I had 4 children. Yeah. From like 15
and then
to.
were you a single mom, or were you with a man at that point?
I was with somebody. It was, again, another toxic relationship. What I appreciate about myself at that time is that the first instance, I guess there were some signs, but there was nothing physical. But the first time that he ever tried to get physical is where I ended it.
Oh,
And
wow.
so, yeah.
But you kind of learned from the first one a little.
I did. I mean, there was a big situation that had happened that I realized, like, okay, wow, like, he has trust issues. He put a tape recorder in my car. He did some crazy things and
Wow.
it just wasn't valid, because I wasn't doing anything inappropriate since I was in a relationship. But then how he handled it and reacted and then tried to get physical, it was just like, okay, that's, so I had learned, in terms of like cutting it off right then. But it was hard. I mean, I had 4 kids, and I was single again, and I didn't think that I would be. And I was married to him, actually. Um, so, just going through that process, because that was the first time I had ever been married. And I thought that I would stay married to him, until like a year after we got married. That's when a lot of things changed. So, um, and he does not involve himself with my son, at all, with my children. So
Do
it's
you have
sad.
yeah, I have a question though, because there's so many women, including myself, who fall into this where they fall into an abusive relationship, whatever that might look like, and then they find themselves in another abusive relationship. Do you have, now looking back, 2020 vision, do you have any advice for women who continue to do it 3, 4, 5 times? What would be some advice as far as not continuing to do that, or how to not do that? Do you have any insight on that?
I would think, from personal experience, it really starts with you as an individual and a woman, not, having that drive and that desire to not go through things like that. But it's scary, when you're in a relationship, you have children, to think that, you have to completely change what your kids know, your household. I have been lucky enough to where I didn't have to go to a shelter. My space was my space, so you had to go. They had to leave. I was still fortunate enough to have my own space, to where that wasn't an extra part of it. But I think, just getting tired. I would always say, when I'm fed up with being fed up, like, I'm done. And
Yeah.
so getting to that point, but to not be scared, because it's once you remove yourself from the situation, then you can look back and go, God, that was really bad. And to see how you've grown over the time and changed is a wonderful thing. And then you see your strength, you feel your strength, even though you don't know you have it in that moment, because it's scary, and you're so, I don't want to say like, I can't think of the word, but like, not hypnotized by that relationship, but when you're involved in that toxicity, and you believe stuff that they say about, whatever, the craziness that they think, or like the father of my girls, like, I couldn't wear certain things, because he was so jealous. And it's like, you just kind of start going along with it. And so it's like, oh, you don't even go buy certain clothes because, oh, he won't like it. It's like you start living it. And so to get out of that, it's hard, but there is help out there. There's help, friends, family. Now with social media, which was not available back then, there's lots of avenues to reach out and get help. But I would think it would first start with, just to take that first step, to know that no matter how much they try to install it in you, that, like, you're the one, it's
Mhm.
your fault that they're doing this. You
Mhm.
made me mad, you made me do this, that it's not. And once you realize that, and just, change a few things in your thinking, it'll get easier, I think. But it takes time, it takes years. It's, you've been in a 5-year relationship, in 1 month, it's not going to, your emotions about it aren't just going to be like, okay, I'm free and I'm happy. And, you're still going to miss them, love
Yeah.
them,
Yeah.
so just day by day first too. I would, that would be some of my advice. And then you learn signs. You do realize, once you start dating again or whatever, you see signs of in people. You can start reading them a little better about, and again, looking back with my second relationship, like, oh yeah, I see the signs that he was a little, possessive, crazy. He did have probably some physical things that I missed, even though it hadn't happened to me. So being aware of that as well.
Of course, of
But it can
course.
get better.
Yeah. So once that relationship ended, were you a single mom for a point of time?
I was, yeah, I was single. I did have a fifth child when I was, she's going to be 11. So I was just about 30 years old. And I was with another partner. He passed away. So that relationship ended, but we were kind of separating and going through some stuff anyway. He didn't want to raise my children that I had. That was just the real truth of it. He was a great father though. But he passed away, and but I did have about like 6 years where I was single.
Yeah.
So on and off through my years of parenting, I have had chunks where I'm single and not involved. Um, but even in that relationship, when you have children and you're with somebody for whatever amount of time, and they're not fully on board, you're still doing a lot of stuff by yourself, which I was. So I had my own place. I was in the department, and that's when things were hard, because I had 15, like 12, 9, 4, almost a
Wow.
newborn. And I would parent from the bathroom in my unit, like call the kids, and because I would work in the morning from 6 to 2. And so I would call them from the bathroom at work, get ready and stop doing this. And they'd be fine. My older kids are like going at it. And, now we laugh about it now. But when I was in the midst of it, I would be in the bathroom for at least 10 minutes, until my dad got there and they got out the door. And then I was like, okay, shoo, you know. So that
That's
part
so
was
funny.
hard. The mornings were hard, but I finally had a career and I could provide medical insurance and I wasn't on welfare, and I didn't need the free childcare and things like that. So, I have a strong daughter. I have very strong children, but my oldest daughter, she was very helpful and instrumental, and it's probably why she's very, like still with them now. Sometimes I'm around, I'm like, okay, I'm here, I got it, but because she will still, like, in a loving way, but
Yeah.
like, she checks the other kids because she helped with them so much when they were
Yeah.
young. So, and I do have a grandchild. That my oldest daughter has a 2-year-old, so I have a 2-year-old grandson as well.
Wow.
So yeah, so she's a mom now too. So
Oh, that's
it's
exciting.
cool to see that.
That's
Yeah,
so
yeah.
exciting.
So
Um, so, a lot of what I hear as far as women who are enduring abuse or have endured abuse is the children. A lot of times the fear that mothers feel as far as leaving is the fear of being a single mother and what that's going to look like and what the time is going to look like. Um, do you mind giving us like a little bit? I love, you're here, you're alive, you're not in an insane asylum, like you made it through.
yeah,
But what was the struggles like? What can they expect? Um, to feel, to go through. I mean, obviously you had at this point 4 or 5, in and out, single here, single there. you know can you give us a little bit of hope as far as, yes, it's bad and this is what a couple things that happened, however, we're here and we're still alive.
yeah.
We made it through. Can you give us some examples?
You have a lot of long days. I mean, from the time you get up till the time you go to bed, you're like this. Because
Mm.
even though I had childcare for when I was at work, when I was at home, it was just my kids and I. So juggling the schoolwork, dinner, the shopping, bathing, loving them,
Yeah.
you know, disciplining them, just parenting them, and then trying not to just have that monotony of like every day you have to get these things done, still trying to like have fun, and enjoy your children. And that was hard because, again, reflecting, I could have probably done more with that. I tried to do as much as possible, but I was tired. And then going to school too until I was 27. So it was like, get up, drop the kids off, go to school, go to work, pick the kids up, make dinner, get them to bed, doing that all alone.
Yeah.
It was hard, but one thing that I do have some friends that are single, and single parenting right now, younger children. And I don't think I was very good at it doing back then, but I always talk in general when I talk about women or single parenting or just parenting, regardless if you have a partner, because, currently my partner and I work opposite shifts. So when he's here alone. When I'm here alone. So it's, I have to give myself some grace that, I know I accomplished as much as I could throughout the day. I know I did. And sometimes the dishes don't get done. Sometimes there's still toys. The house looks like a tornado toy, toys of tornado everywhere. Sometimes they don't get a bath every day, which is, it's like, sometimes things just don't happen because you're so busy and you have to lay down because you're tired. And so learning, that's okay.
Yep.
But you're busy constantly. And then sometimes you miss a relationship. You're lonely, even though you have your children around you. I remember having those like lonely moments where you want a partner, you want a hug from a partner, not, of course your children are great, but you want that connection with somebody. And when you go years without it, you kind of get used to it and time goes by. But, I remember being lonely at times too. And I would sit there wherever I was, at the park or restaurants, and you see families and they look happy, but it's just like, wow, at least, they're together and they have their kids, and gosh, that must be so nice. And missing that, those were some hard things that I remember really wanting back then. And, at the time I didn't have them, even though the ones I did have weren't healthy. It's like you still miss that.
Did you have a thought? What was your mentality as far as men? Were you kind of like, there's no good ones left? Or were you like, they're out there, I just got to find them? Where were you mentally on that?
I think in general, I'm kind of like, I don't know if like optimist is, the word, or romantic, a romantic or whatnot. I always had hope, that I would find somebody that, I would have that relationship. And I knew there was good men out there. I mean, I worked with great men that, had wives and kids. And, I had a couple girlfriends, that are still with their partner after 16, 17 years. So it's like, I had some examples of hope, that it could happen. But, like after I had 5 kids, my partner used to tell me, no one's going to want you with 5 kids. No one's going to want you, and that was just him being nasty and mean and things like that. But, he would tell me that no one's going to want you. And for, and it's, you believe a little bit of it too, because people hear you have 5 kids and they're like, oh my God, it's a little overwhelming for them, even though it's my norm. And so, so I definitely, I had hope. I wasn't expecting it when I met my husband, the way that it all transitioned. But, so yeah, there's hope out there. I always say there's someone out there for everybody, regardless of your circumstance. There's somebody out there that's going to love you for you. Even though I came with 5 kids, I came with a lot of experience and, heartache and struggles and things like that. So
100%.
Yeah.
So speaking of, now that we're on the trajectory of this, How did you meet your husband? Tell us the love story.
Um, we met at work. He's in the department as well. We've been together 6 years now, and we knew each other prior to that. We worked in the same kind of upstairs and downstairs from each other. He had a partner, I had a partner. But we would talk a lot, and it's funny because I remember we would have conversations, and I was with someone who cheated, who was abusive, and he would tell me things that he's doing in his relationship, and I would say to myself, gosh, she's so lucky that he's willing to do certain things in their relationship because of what she desired at that time. Just personal things in their relationship, but I had never known a man to make those sacrifices. And I would just think to myself, like, wow, she's so lucky, that and he's good looking too. And then it just kind of happened. He broke up with her, my partner passed away, and about a year later we ended up working in the same building, but different shifts. And a couple times he was like, oh, can you get me some food? I'm working overtime. And it just kind of started. And 10 months later, we were married.
Really?
Yeah.
Who made the first move? Like, what was the first, like, let's go out to dinner?
Well, I guess he did,
Okay.
I guess he did. It wasn't even kind of stuff, and I had an extra room, and I had told him, like, oh, you can rent a room from me, and I wasn't thinking like I want a relationship with this. It wasn't that at all. And so he did start staying in, renting a room from me. That separation or non-relationship didn't last long because we had attractions toward each other, but that wasn't even a thought when he came in and started staying with me. Yeah. So, but it was about 2 months after that, then it was like, okay, there's some things happening here. But it was from that point forward to 10 months later, we were married, even though it wasn't like, well, hey, we should go out, let's hang out, let's go out on a date. But, I guess we knew, I mean, I knew at that point, because we did have about a month where we were questioning things. And I said, I know if we're going to do this, I want a partner. I don't want to just like kind of hang out and see somebody. I just don't have time for that. So, if that's what we're going to do, then, then we can like be exclusive or whatnot. So that I was pretty strict about, or stern, I knew I just didn't want to like waste time with, I don't know, dating. I wasn't in that place, I guess. I don't know. So, and we clicked a lot, I laughed with him. I hadn't laughed with somebody in a long time, and we laughed, and he accepted me. He didn't, it wasn't like, oh gosh, you have 5 kids, I'm not sure. There was an automatic acceptance for, who I was. And so we just did it. We got married because, then we had like a specific date we want. We got married on a Wednesday. We didn't have like a big wedding. But, with as fast as that, he's the best relationship I've had. I'm, in the best place I've been in when it comes to relationships or my life and how I provide for my children. And, but I'm pretty, like I tell him, I married you for a partner for me, because for 20 years, I had my house. I took care of my kids. I didn't marry you to have a bigger house or a better car. I need it, and I want a partner. So I always, whoever's going to get married, have conversations about your expectations in the marriage, not afterwards.
Yep, totally. That's hard for us to do sometimes.
Yeah.
That's hard.
Because then you decide, like, are you willing to accept some things or not? And, sometimes it's like, well, maybe if we would have had this conversation, maybe we would have waited a little longer. if you
Yep.
knew exactly what I needed. But, there was some, um, fairy tale in it, even though, I was, in my mid 30s. There was still some fairy tale in it in terms of, oh, we're getting married and, oh, I'm engaged. And, then we got married and a year later we bought a house and,
Wow.
then now we have a 2 and a 1-year-old together. Um, so, but it's
How long have
cool,
you guys been together?
it's 6 years. We've
Okay,
been
very cool.
together 6 years. Yeah, I'm 42 now. And my youngest two children are 2 and 1. Um, and that's a lot different from being 20 with two kids. I'm like really tired now. I was tired back then, but like you're really tired at 40 working and having small children, That's why I told him, like, if I go to sleep and the house is dirty, know that I was okay with it. So you got to be okay with it too. Cause like, you know, I'm tired.
Yeah.
But it's cool. It's fun. And I'm thankful that I do have my 15 and my 11-year-old. So they're helping right now while I'm doing
Yeah.
this. And so that's really great because I can only imagine what I went through at 20, being in the house alone with two. I remember when I had my three children. I had 6, 3, and a newborn, and I was standing on my front lawn just like bawling to my mom because
Oh,
I know I had postpartum, I'm sure, because I was just so overwhelmed with
yeah.
like what was going on.
Yeah.
And so, it's you learn, which I'm thankful for. um what was my word? For learning my lessons and growing, and things like that. I'm thankful for that because I'm in a different place now as the parent that I am. So
Yeah.
yeah.
100%. I love that story. That's such a gorgeous story. And I love hearing it because there's so many men and women who just they've been in and out of so much turmoil, and sometimes they give up. Sometimes they give up. They turn to alcohol, they turn to drugs, they turn to suicide, and they just feel like they've been hit so many times. Not
Yeah.
necessarily even an abusive relationship, but just hit like with just so much stuff, just so many things
Yeah.
just coming at them. And your story is such a story of resilience, like, baby after baby, and then, relationship after relationship that was just not good, toxic,
No.
and you're still standing there. You got a baby on the hip, you got one holding hands, you got a couple following you like a little mother hen, and you still have hope. You still have hope
Yeah.
that there's someone out there. And what an amazing, amazing way to really show, not just tell, but like show that there's hope and that it can be done. You just have to keep going. You
Yeah.
just have to keep going.
Yeah. I didn't have a choice. At 18, when mom was like, okay, you can't live here. She had my sister who wasn't doing well, and my sister had a baby. She had my brother who was 12, 13 years old, not in a good place. And
Wow.
so it was like, if you're going to have this baby, then you can't live here. And again, at that time, it was hard, but it just pushed me to a place of like, I got to do this. And then, I could have not putting anybody down who maybe just feels like they don't have the options or the resources to go out
Totally.
there. But one thing that because what I hope to do in the future is work with other single mothers. But there are resources out there. I
Yeah.
got my AA for free because of the
Mm.
financial aid, the book money, the free childcare, the welfare at the time. Like I got paid to get my AA. And so
Wow.
there's resources out there that can help you, you just have to, I always give the example, they weren't coming and knocking on my door. I had to go out there, do the footwork, stand in the financial aid line for 2 hours. But, I mean, I just didn't have another choice. And I knew I wanted, I had a goal to get someplace. And so you have to keep on going, at least for me, I didn't know any other way. That's just the road that I chose. And so I did recently, when I had my 2 younger ones, I stayed home for 8 months, and then I stayed home for 13 months. That was the best time. I wish I could have done that with all my children. So for a mother that gets to stay home and raise your kids, that's work.
Yeah.
I remember telling my mom last year, I'm like, staying home is busy. You're busy. And I would have loved to do that with my children. I just didn't have that choice.
Yeah.
I had to be the one to get out there and work and educate myself and things like that. So for mothers that get to stay home, I always encourage them, that's fantastic, stay home. But when you have that downtime, find things that you like and see if you can monetize on them. See if you can, provide a service or, a group or something to other women, because there's women out there going through things that you're going through as well. There's women that will absolutely connect and understand your struggle at that time. So, I don't, any woman who gets to stay home with their kids, that's a blessing. And I think that's a great thing. And it's hard. It's hard. Because then I think even more pressure is a little added on you, because like, oh, you stay home, you don't work, you just, take care of kids. And it's like, it's hard. It's a lot of work as well, because then you're like, oh, I got to clean the house, have to cook and things like that. Whereas with work, it's like, I worked all day, like dishes can wait till tomorrow, laundry can wait till the weekend, or, so.
Yeah. It's learning to find grace, find grace on yourself, and allowing yourself to breathe and not feeling like you have to be picture perfect all the time, with all of the things. It is chaotic when you're a single mom sometimes, and you have to be not only okay with it, but like sit in it confidently. That's just part of it.
I told my friend just the other day, I said, give yourself some grace, because she has a baby at home, and and some of the things that she tells me, I'm like, it's okay. Give yourself some grace. You're doing good. The bottles can wait. Stick them in the dishwasher. You don't need to scrub them every time, But give yourself some grace, because you're busy from the time you get up to the time you go to bed. 100%. So, sometimes it's just relearning some things, when you're used to doing things a certain way, and now you have, some other little people to take care of. It's just relearning, to juggle those things and becoming okay with certain things not getting done, or like you said, not being picture perfect, because I wasn't by far. So
none of us. Can you share with us some differences? What are a couple of the main differences between the relationships that you were enduring? And obviously abuse is abuse, but as far as like time spent or sacrifices, what are some big things as far as your past relationships versus the man that you married?
Well, one thing, we came into the relationship equally in terms of having a career, and how we could provide, for each other. And that was new. I had always been the one that was, going to school or educated or, making more money, always. Mm-hmm. And so that was different. And that's awesome, because that's what's given me, a bigger, not better, but, a nicer roof than I provided for my younger children now. Mm-hmm. So we came in financially equally, which was big, because I never had that, he's willing, which I never had in the past, the things that I'm working on now and where I want to be in 3 years, and hopefully with a promotion or two and some financial things changing, where he's willing to work on, and to find a way for me to stay home and be with my kids. I know I still have to bring in some income. I do. And so I'm, working on things that, I'm following my heart, that are soul centered, but I can still make a little money off of it and do it from home. I'm okay with leaving my department and leaving that time, and that took a while too. But so just being willing to do certain things like that, coming in equally willing to, he kind of lets me be me. He doesn't have constraints in term, just like some of the other things I went through.
Yeah.
If I go out with my girlfriends to dinner or whatever, it's like, okay, have fun. We are different. He likes to stay home. He's a little introverted. I'm not. I'm a Gemini, so I like to every now and then go out with my friends, have dinner, have a good
Yeah.
dinner, things like that. But he lets me be me. And, some of the things and the dreams I've been working on recently, he supports him and does his best to support that. So, and in the house, it's equal, you know. He doesn't cook, but I don't do a lot of cleaning. So there's a
Perfect.
balance. Yeah, we
Perfect.
do have a good balance when it comes to like in the house. So, I would say those are some things. Every relationship has things that can
Yeah.
be better and work on.
Mm.
And it is, I'm not gonna say it's work all the time, but remembering that we have to still put into the relationship, even though someone from the outside would look in and be like, oh, wow, like they're a power couple, they have it all. And yes, we do have a wonderful life, but we still have to put into each other, you
Yeah.
know, because that's the one big thing that I needed from him or need from him is like a partner just for me,
Yeah. Yeah.
that is not about financial or providing. It's just the emotional and the mental, the physical support just for me.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
love that, you were saying earlier that that was an actual conversation that you had, which I think is great.
Yeah. Not before we got married, we got married fast and, we had to learn some things about each other.
Mm.
So there was that. And but he has learned because I'm vocal. I did learn that through my relationships and especially where I am now. I'm not going to be quiet about the things that I know I need or want in my marriage. And
Yeah.
so he's very aware.
Ah!
Like, when I need some time or when, we gone too long without a date or things like that, um, so it's constant, it's different than my first marriage, which I wouldn't even, yeah, we got married on paper, but it wasn't like a marriage,
Yeah.
this is like a relationship. And so you work and you communicate and you talk and you have hard times and good times. Um, but it is good. I'm happy. It's what I used to look at when I was alone with my 3 kids and go, gosh, I want that. And so to have it is a blessing, even when I'm angry at him. you know?
I totally get it. I totally get it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just talking to you, your outlook in life is just so wonderful. Uh, Obviously you've been through some stuff. You've had some challenges in your life. You've lived a full, great, life that's,
Yeah.
definitely you could write a book. I'm sure you've been told that before. Um, what are some things that you've learned?
Thought about it. That's in one of my
That's one of your things. Are we going to talk about that?
oh oh, you kind of went out for 1 second.
That's okay. That's okay. I was hoping that
Okay.
you could share, some things that you've learned over the years that kind of have helped you get to where you are emotionally. A lot of times the outlook that you have is not necessarily normal. I don't know if you know that or not, but
Really?
definitely something that you should be proud of. Have
Oh,
you
thank
done
you.
anything? Are you popping pills? Are you going to therapy? Do you read books, YouTube videos, church? What do you, how are you
Um,
so vibrant about life? And
um, I've definitely done therapy over the years. I'm big for therapy. There is nothing wrong with somebody who feels they need some therapy, because it's good to talk to someone and get another perspective and learn things that you didn't learn or whatever. So I've definitely done therapy for sure. Um, I don't take pills. I never was really a big. I smoked some marijuana or whatever. Don't now. Um, but I use essential oils like all the time,
yeah.
and that really helped a lot. When you're like in a frenzy of emotion, essential oils, if you've ever used them, then and if you've never used them, then you need to get on board. They help. And I like using them because it's natural. It's a natural approach to healing in so many different ways. But I think the one big thing is like recognizing that I am lucky. I have a very I'm blessed for the life I had, even though like it's hard to see that. Oh yes, you have struggles. I've had struggles along the way. I know that I'm blessed. I'm very fortunate compared to others, even though I worked really hard to get it. And so that's a good feeling. I know that just being in the kind of work that I do, there's a lot of people that have a lot of hard struggles that I've never gone through. And some of it is choice. There are choices that we make as individuals that put you in that predicament. My brother did have a very bad drug problem at one time, and we're still in different places, even though he doesn't use drugs. But so I feel blessed, and I know what changed last year is when I was home with my baby, and even though I always knew I would have loved to do that, when I would look at the moms. I used to work in Encino, California, which is a pretty higher end town. A lot of moms would come in there, they weren't working, and I just used to look at them and go like, gosh, they're so lucky. And so when I was home last year with my baby and realizing like, this is what I want. I want to be able to be home with my babies. And so I started taking some steps on, figuring out how I can, make money from home. But what that did was it just shifted my mindset, and being able to see like, wow, this could be real. I could serve a community, help other women, use my essential oils, use my crystals, and really like support other women, and yeah, make some money off of it. Like that light bulb just really changed my heart and brought some warmth in my heart that I thought that, oh, I would work till the age of 60, where it's like, no, I could be 45 and be home. And that's really brought some calm in me,
Wow.
which is a nice thing. And it's like I do struggle every day, but at the same time, I know that I have a good life. I go to work, and my job is not like super duper stressing, which I took a demotion within my department, but that was an intentional demotion because I knew where I was going would be less stressful compared to where I had been for 10 years, which was holidays, weekends, Christmas, Thanksgiving was at work.
Wow.
So taking some steps to put me in a place that were better for me. I'm now with my department. I'm home on holidays and weekends. That was intentional. So, so I know that I'm blessed, but definitely essential oils, lots of conversations with my girlfriends, I look at my first three kids, and yeah, I remember like one of your questions was like, what do you think I'm most proud of?
Yeah,
Which I could cry. But my first three older children are really good. And I know that's a result of me, as hard as I was, and the lessons that I learned, and they got spankings for sure. um but like, them being awesome parents, I know that I was very instrumental in that, especially with my girls, because they didn't really have their dad. They had outside family, but in the home every day was me. And
Yeah.
so like that that's a good feeling. That brings a lot of joy to me, that I have awesome children that are on the right path. I have a grandchild. My daughter's going to be a physical trainer. My son's leaving for the Air Force next month and just got
Wow.
married. And so I have some great children. And to see them as adults, knowing what we went through as kids when they were kids, that's a good feeling too. So yeah, so I'm blessed, and that takes you a long way every day,
Yeah,
for sure.
for sure. For sure.
Yeah.
How do you decide to show up for the world when you wake up? What do you actually make a physical choice when you wake up?
Sorry, I have to plug in my phone.
Fine.
Let me plug in my phone real quick.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I do use my essential oils. Those are really grounding, and I think just set the tone for like where I need to be throughout my day mentally.
Yeah.
But then also I feel like, okay, there we go. Knowing that I have like control over my day, and those two things I think are really, really big. I control my day. I control, my emotions. I can't control some of the outside things that happen,
Mhm.
like what may come up at work or traffic. I'm always like 10 minutes late. But I can control my emotionally how I deal with that. And I
At
think
work
that's
or
really big.
traffic.
Yeah,
I'm always like
So
10 minutes late.
I totally get
yeah.
that. 100%.
So
Um, as far as those essential oils that you're talking about, what is your what do you have planned? What are you doing as far as I've heard you talk about helping women. I've heard you talk about essential oils. I've heard you talk about staying home and making money and kind of having your husband at work. What do you have going on? What are your future plans?
Um, well, it's a lot, but I try to take baby steps every day to get there. Um, I be, I've used essential oil for about 8 years, but last year I made a decision to become intentional with it and share. So I do have a Facebook page called Aroma Life, and I have an Instagram page called Aroma Life LA, and
Okay.
that's solely about oil education. And so I do different things on that. Um, I incorporated crystals as well. So I have a page for crystals called Kaylani's Crystals. It's named after my daughter. Her name is Kaylani. So it's Kaylani's Crystals with two Ks. So those are kind of just like little additives. But what I really hope to do one day is, last year, one of my steps to become more how I want to serve women and just serve the community that I think I understand most, which is single moms.
Yeah.
Because even though I'm not one, for more of my life than not, I've been a single mom, building a community where I help them parenting, with essential oils, with crystals, healing. Um, I do want to like write a course. I don't know if it's a parenting course yet. I'm not sure. I haven't figured that out, but building my community and how I serve. And last year I did get certified in a technique called aroma freedom, and that's using essential oils to clear negative thoughts, feelings, and memories, and help us with setting goals and our dreams. And it's very powerful. Just like I've said earlier, essential oils are powerful. And so when you incorporate essential oils with this technique and the steps that go along with it, it's powerful, and
Wow.
and you see change. And so incorporating like all those things in serving women, that's like a goal of mine. Going into like school systems and incorporating the aroma freedom technique or rehabs, because I think I can relate to transformation. And so I really like to see when people, come from one place and they transform to something else through
Yeah.
choices and, intentional choices. But we all need that extra support. And so I've learned that essential oils for me have been like instrumental in that. And that's how I found the aroma freedom technique. And so, using that and building my community. I do have a website now. I've completely put it together myself, which is a lot of hard work, but I'm proud of it. And it's still under a little bit of construction, but I do give it out because I'm still proud of what's there. And there are ways to reach me even through the website. It's aromalifela.com. That's my website.
Okay.
Yeah, and so through the website, it takes you to my Facebook page, which I did also start another Facebook page, Resilient and Thriving Single Mothers. So I don't even remember how you and I connected. I was trying to tell someone today, and I'm like, I don't remember how we connected, but I saw her and maybe commented on a few things, but networking, and that's how you build your community. And
Yeah.
so since I've gone back to work, it's slowed down a little bit in the amount of time that I'm, trying to put things together, but I know I'll get there. And so,
Mhm.
just taking baby steps every day to, to follow my heart and serve in the way that I feel I've been called, which is, again, to me, single mothers, because that's who I've been the most,
Yeah.
is a single mom. So
Absolutely.
that's kind of the things that I'm working on now. So I have a 3-year goal to leave my department and, hopefully make money, be it my home, or even if I go out and help other clients, it's on my own terms. And that's very
Yeah.
powerful, opposed to being connected to, you got to do this and you got to do that. But it's been great. I mean, being in my department and, having a retirement and having medical and dental insurance like that, those are priceless too.
Yeah.
So I'm grateful for what I still have, and I can keep that while I try to incorporate where my heart is now.
Awesome. Awesome. So,
Yeah.
absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. If anyone should be in this space that you're looking to get into, it should be you. And I'd
Thank
love to,
you.
after this is done, have you send me all of those links and everything so that I can put them under the video so people can, click easily and find you, and look into, all of the awesome things that you're providing and that you're giving back to your community. Absolutely brilliant. I do want
Thank
to
you.
ask you a question. We're coming to the end here, and with all of the life experience that you have, what would be some advice that you would give to a 28-year-old woman who has a couple kids and is just struggling, just straight up struggling emotionally and mentally? What could you say to her?
Oh gosh, use resources that are out there, free childcare, welfare. Use anything free that you can get, because there's a lot of resources out there for single mothers specifically that are low income, because that's what I was too when I worked in a restaurant for 15 years, just about. So use the resources out there. You're going to have to put in the work to find them. But I know here in Los Angeles, California, there's a lot of them. And I would imagine that there's a lot of resources in other towns and cities as well. But use the resources that are out there for single mothers. And there's lots of different ways to look that up. Anybody can reach out to me, and I'm willing to help. I think that's necessary. And also then take help, if you have that grandparent who's willing to help, you have the girlfriend, you don't have to be so, oh no, I don't, I understand people have like trust issues with their kids, but if it's watching them in their house, or take the help, take the help that someone's willing to give you, to do homework, to go out and take a breath. Those things I think are really important, to get the help, the support, talk to your friends, even if you're not in the same place, we all need to cry and let it out sometimes, and do that. It's okay to just cry. And sometimes it's not about feeling sorry for yourself, but like it's overwhelming, and to realize that it's overwhelming, accept it. But then, you wipe your tears off, you get back up, because you got to get up tomorrow morning, but you do it, and to keep going every day, because it does get easier. Every day that you work at something, it gets easier. There is that light at the end of the tunnel of like, you'll graduate soon, or you're gonna does lead somewhere that's awesome. And once you're there, you can look back and you're like, oh, that was hard, but now look where I am. So remembering that there is better, especially when you're taking the steps to get there. So use your resources, feel your emotions, ask for help, reach out to other communities. Again, with social media, Facebook, Instagram, there's all single mom groups, and looking for love, whatever it is. There's groups and resources of people that are just like you. Yep. And I think, that's important too, because then you're not the only one going through it, believe it or not, So using the resources, going through your emotion, knowing that it gets better, and that, they'll turn around in 10 years and be like, gosh, I did it. Yeah. And, and look at how much awesome you did in between then. So I would think that, and it's okay to have down days where, like I said, the dishes don't get done. Yep. The laundry doesn't get done. You go to sleep with the dirty house sometimes. Like, that's okay. When you don't have the energy, it's okay. So I would think if I heard that every day, then it might have been a little easier. Like,
yeah. So those of you listening, this is so for those of you listening, that's your the cue right there to put this podcast on repeat every morning.
Yeah. I mean, yoga, meditation, I love doing yoga. Finding a natural approach to some healing too it was good. I was in therapy for a long time as well. So, there's, be willing to learn new ways, because there's always new ways to learn things, even at 42, so definitely at 28, you're not the same person. So be open to new things, and learning new ways, and educating yourself in different ways, and trying new things, and failing sometimes as well. I wouldn't even use failing, but it not happening how you thought, and not being okay. Yeah.
Very good point. I totally agree with that. And I love this story. Absolutely. So powerful. This is the kind of stuff that needs to be told, because you feel when you're in that position, and you're all by yourself, you feel hopeless sometimes, you know? You feel like it's never going to end. And hearing stories like this, I mean, this would have brought me so much hope, so much hope. And I just have the
Oh,
one, I just have the one. And, being able to hear this and say, wow, she had four, she had five, and she was doing it and going to school and doing this. And so powerful, so powerful. And I certainly hope that, you're doing your best to share that story with as many people as possible, because, people need to hear this. Women, single mothers, there's so many of them, need to know that it's going to be messy and it's going to be a struggle and you're going to cry, but turning back, and 42 years old, and now you have the world at your fingertips, and you've got more things, more goals, more dreams that you're fighting for. And that's what it is. That's what it is. It's just continuing to get up and being resilient. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I love it.
Thank you. I appreciate that a lot.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Warms my heart for sure.
Yeah. I'm very proud of you.
Well, thank you. Thank you. It's you don't see it in yourself, but don't make me cry. I'm a crier. If you cry, I'm going to cry. But I appreciate that, because we do need to hear that. And sometimes you don't think that you're doing a lot, even though others can see that you are. So because it's just what you do and what you know. So thank you for that, because we do need to hear that. Women do need to hear that for sure. So that's why, in helping like two of my girlfriends that are kind of like in the mix of it right now, I check on them. I always tell them, it's okay. Give yourself some grace, it's going to be okay. Like, you're doing good. Because that is important to hear. That kind of helps us get up the next day for sure. Yeah. So thank you for those words.
Absolutely.
That's special.
Absolutely.
That's special.
And just the fact that, your children, turned out awesome, and they now have you as just a wonderful role model. It's just brilliant, just absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much for taking some time out of your day and sitting down and sharing your story. I so appreciate you. Is there any closing words?
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Is there any closing words that you want to say before I close up?
To whoever's watching, you're doing good. The fact that you took the time, you knew the topic, and you heard what the show was going to be about, and you were intentional about watching the show. Thank you for listening to my story, but know that you're doing good. You get up every day and you do your job. Let that bring you some peace. You got up in the morning, and from the time you went to bed, you were busy working towards the next day. That's the best that you could do. And that's great. And that's all you need to do. And so, be good to yourself, give yourself some grace. You're doing a great job. And trust me, your children see it.
Yeah.
Even when they're 5, 10, 15, when they're 26, 23, and 20, and they're doing fantastic, and they can tell you, how good you did it, as hard as you were, your kids see it and they know. And so, you're doing good, and you'll hear it from them, and then you'll remember, yeah, I did do good. So no, you're doing good. You're doing well. And to anybody who's listening, they can reach out. I'm here to talk, because we all need that, like I said. So I'm here, I'm open, I'm free. It's 5, 10, 20 minutes out of a day is a very small part of a day to help somebody that just needs to vent or whatever. So yeah, I enjoyed it. Thank you so much. Thank you for watching. Thank you for having me and reaching out to me, and giving me this platform to share, because even me, so it's just my story. It's just my life. To me, it doesn't look like it's this grand thing. So to feel like maybe I do give hope to somebody is special for me. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
Thank
You
you.
are and do and all the things. So
Thank you.
I appreciate that. For those of you that are just joining us, make sure you watch this on replay. If it resonates with you, share it. If you know of anyone who has a similar storyline, this is the type of stuff. These are the powerful stories that need to get shared, that need to go around to be able to give hope, because there are people out there that are struggling right now, whether it's single mom or whether it's in an abusive relationship, that are feeling down right now. And, hearing something like this is what gives them hope. So thank you so much for joining us here on Her Version. If you have an amazing story to share of struggle to triumph, be sure to reach out to me here or on herversion.life. I'm your host, Sabrina Victoria, and I am so grateful to be here sharing a platform that allows people to share their truth and inspire others. Have an amazing day. Much love.
Much love.